And try to bring a posture of awakeness, openness, getting the spine to straighten, the chest to be open and the shoulders relaxed, the head tilted slightly forward, the gaze downward, unfocused. You can either keep your eyes gently open or gently closed. The hands in the lap. In our tradition, it's the right hand on top of the left with the thumbs touching. But whatever is comfortable for you, the main thing is to have the back straight, sitting up away from the back of the chair, in an alert posture. I'm ready to get this meditation a go. So, all right. So just first, as a way of bringing your attention here, now, notice the sensation of the breath going in and out of the body. Perhaps take 3 deep breaths to really let your body and mind settle into this spot. Pulling your attention away from getting ready this morning and pulling your attention away for planning for later, for thinking about what's next. And just settle your attention on that sensation of the breath going in and out of the body. Allowing the breath to anchor your mind in this moment, sitting here. Nothing else to do. Just attend to the breathing. Notice the breath. And relaxing your attention on the breath and bringing it to the top of the head. And just scan the body, allowing it to relax. Still be alert and awake. But just notice if there's any tension in your face, allowing the breath to soften the face, soften the jaw, the back of the neck, the shoulders, checking in with your torso, lifting the spine, noticing the sensation of the rib cage as it expands and contracts with the breath. Aware of the arms and the hands. Allowing the belly to soften. Breathing into the legs, into the feet and the toes. Feeling stable in the body. And just bring to mind the reason you showed up this morning. And whatever the reason, set an intention to use your time well. Wishing that it will benefit yourself, but also ripple out to benefit others. And allowing your mind's attention to rest again on that sensation of the breath going in and out of the body. Not thinking about the breath, just being aware. And whenever you realize you've grasped a thought, just think breath And come back to this sensation, gently, kindly, resting upon this breath going in and out of the body. Totally accepting whatever arises, not rejecting anything, but not following anything either. Just aware of the breath. Now relaxing your attention on the breath for a moment, knowing that it is always there to anchor you, to anchor the mind. So whenever you get distracted or pulled away to the past or the future, you can bring your attention back to the breath. resting in this moment. Now try to bring to your mind's eye an image of a golden sphere of light in front of you. And this golden sphere of light contains all the peace of enlightenment, all the love and compassion of all enlightened beings. All the wisdom and kindness, just appearing as a sphere of radiant golden light. There's no ignorance, no bias, no selfishness, just peaceful, loving, compassionate, kind wisdom. Try to get a sense of this energy being there with you. And bring this golden light to the crown of your head, allowing it to enter through the crown, the golden light purifying all your actions and tendencies of body. The light coming down the central channel to your throat, purifying all your actions and tendencies of speech. Filling the whole body with golden light, which is just the energy of enlightened beings. All that kindness, wisdom, love, and compassion. It goes down to the heart area, purifying all the actions of mind, all the tendencies, our habits of mind, with this golden light, where it rests at the heart. The light reveals the space of the mind. The mind is just like the space of the universe, spreading out in all directions, above and below, no limit. The space of the mind is just like that. Allow your awareness to contact this spaciousness of the mind. It's just being aware of awareness. Allow any distracting thoughts, sensations, fall to the edges or to the background. Just allow your awareness to go deeper into the stillness of this space, the silence of the mind. The words mind, awareness, consciousness are just names that we give to this faculty of knowing, to this clear, immaterial, intangible knowing. It's where our experiences of pleasure and suffering, all our thoughts, our love and compassion, wisdom arise in this vast, clear, immaterial, non-physical, infinite space. We're very familiar with the surface of this faculty, where all the thoughts and sensations obscure this stillness that is also there. So allow a thought of what is meaningful to you arise. Let it be the stepping stone for an intention you set for the day. And recall the intention you set at the beginning of this meditation. And according to the teachings of the Buddha, activities like this place positive potentials on our mind stream within this vast, spacious, immaterial facility of knowing that will ripen in the future to benefit us. So we just make the wish that it benefit not only ourselves, but that it ripples out to benefit those around us and ripples out to contribute to the positive energy for all beings. Now check in with your body, breathing into any spots, tension, and when you're ready, just gently open your eyes. Squirm about, bring energy into those limbs. I forgot to open the prayers. Any questions or thoughts or comments? Hello, Adrian. Hi, John. Hi, Joy. I'm trying to find the, there we are. Okay, let's recite the 4 measurables. Okay. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Hi, Ash. Hi, Beata. Hi, Graciela. All right, so welcome. So just remember to keep yourself on mute unless you have a question or want to pipe in. So I'm just familiarizing myself with all your faces again. So.
And just a reminder, if you do accidentally put yourself on, hit your mic, I may mute you. So maybe use the hand icon, which is under participant. Where is that? No, it's under chat.
Yeah, the raising your hand is a chat.
Raise your hand by your name, if that's.
But Rebecca, or Nicole, I'll need your help in noticing them because I can't see everyone. So I can see almost everyone, but not quite. So, okay. Hi, Marianne.
Hello, how are you in this rainy day?
I'm all right. So, all right. So where's your mind? How are we doing? Anybody not doing well? Are we all doing fine? Are we all aware of our fortunate conditions? You know? And so now we're making good use of our good conditions by joining into a group that's trying to figure it out, how to find methods that are reliable for increasing our happiness and reducing our suffering and cherishing others, you know, while still taking care of the self. So so I was thinking about how as some things open up, but nothing's opening up the way it was before. You know, it's changed. Things have changed. Our awareness of each other, our awareness of our vulnerability, our awareness of the impermanence of things staying the same. So, you know, has your mind kind of gotten stuck in that place that's just waiting for things to go back to the way they were. You know, like, okay, when can I go back to work or go to class? Nobody, okay. I've been trying to shift from that kind of thought, you know, to, you know, one that is trying to understand how to do what I want to do or need to do within this context, you know?
You know, for me, it's like, I don't think it's ever going to be normal. So I'm sitting here trying to think how I'm going to create my new normal, you know, my new life. I mean, we all have to kind of create a new way of thinking and a new way of operating. And, you know, so it's put me in a space where I'm more ambivalent than anything else, you know, but it goes up and down. One day I'm okay, and the next day it's like, oh, come on, is this ever going to end? You know? So anyway, it's just learning how to adapt. You know?
Yeah. Joy, did you have your hand raised?
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I also think that it's made me, and I think everybody, slow down a little bit. And I don't think that's always a bad thing. I think sometimes you're slowing down, you're seeing things better. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Thank you. Faye?
Yeah,
And Barry says,
Okay, I've
oh,
lost.
go ahead, whoever was.
Okay. Faye?
Oh, yeah. I was just saying that this time, yeah, it's helped me slow down too, but also think about like what's, you know, what I really enjoy. Think about, you know, what's meaningful to me, potential alternative careers. So give me a lot of time to think. Yeah, and also just think about like who's affected at this time and like how to help others who are having a difficult financial difficulties. So it's been a really eye-opening experience for me.
Thank you. Nicole, did you want to say something? Or did you just forget to mute yourself?
No, I was just going to say Barry said something in the chat room that he had never stopped working. He has had to make new accommodations as to how to protect himself and those around him. That's all.
Yes. So this is, you know, it's so interesting because sometimes if we look at how we describe it, there's nothing different than the way it was 2 months ago. We're up and down. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes not. You know, we're trying to investigate what, you know, how to do things to bring whatever is meaningful to us into our lives. You know, it's the context has shifted, the physical context. You know, people who have not been able to go to work and are working from home or who've lost their jobs, you know, may be in a household alone or maybe suddenly with their loved ones all the time. You know, so it's sort of like the setting has shifted a little. But we want to understand if our mind is changing, you know, or if it's just doing its same old thing, you know, of being led around by our thoughts and our storylines, you know, so that we can you know, say we have a thought that kind of says, oh, it's been nice to slow down a little, and we just, you know, follow this storyline. But do we actively seek to slow things down, in particular, to go inward and, you know, let our mind slow down? Do we notice, you know, what we're aware of is meaningful because we no longer can see certain people, you know, we can't give hugs to our loved ones, those kinds of things, you know? So have we let those thoughts become part of our fabric of what choices we make about our activities? You know, because, you know, does it make us spend more quality time on Skype or FaceTime with our loved ones? Or those of us who are in the home with our loved ones, has it affected our speech, our, you know, way of interacting? So we want to recognize that this has been an opportunity, and it continues to be an opportunity because every day is an opportunity to choose what really gives meaning to our lives as the focus. Not just getting things done, not just meeting deadlines, not just taking care of, you know, things like the dishes and laundry. I remember one teacher said, you know, good Buddhists have dirty houses because that's not their biggest priority. So I thought that was very funny. So, and it's not the reason my house is a mess, but because I'm just a messy person. But so we want to really be able to kind of take it, you know, when we have these moments of more, say, or maybe more or less, you know, where things pop up going, oh, well, you know, you know, the slowness is nice. So how can that inform your day? Yeah, Barry. Unmute just, yeah.
I think I muted. I think from what everybody else has mentioned, it's the things that I'm definitely seeing for my own loved ones here. At first, it was great for me to go out and I'm seeing patients and coming back home. And then being quarantined to the house was really hard for me to get my mind to be able to settle, sitting in the same rooms, even if it was taking little walks around or being outdoors in the backyard with my dogs. But one of the things that I've definitely kept reminding the people that I see, the parents, that this is that one pause. It's like this giant pause that the earth has given us. When you look at it differently, I get that the coronavirus could be creating other unfortunate scenarios for others. But when you look at, like I went by the beaches, I've never seen them so clean. I've never seen, because we're not out there. The pelicans were going into there and feeding. And I was like, wow, this is just, it's incredible. Then you hear about from Italy, you hear about all over around the world how, right, the ozone layer has repaired itself and all these other things that are going on.
So you're seeing this opportunity, you see the benefits.
Yeah.
It's not just terrible.
No,
As
no,
the things that are terrible are terrible.
yes.
But there are also things that this has opened up our view to, like the way we're treating our planet. And mostly
Yes.
through our cars, because that's really what stopped.
Yeah.
Is driving around. So we might want to, how can that inform our choices? You know, if we appreciate the quiet, the, you know, the clean air, then we, you know, we may, if that's meaningful to us, then we might want to have that inform some of our choices about what we do with our time. You know, we might become more vocal about the environment to our legislators. We might choose to ride our bikes to work, you know, or ride public transportation if it ever opens up again. You know, it's everything, you know, so we have to understand that just like always, there are constraints on what we can do, but there are things we can do. You know, so it's not, you know, so we want to see, so if you're really enjoying, you know, these pictures of the sheep taking over the streets of some town, you know, and just the, you know, like Barry said, the clean beaches or the quiet beaches, and then seeing more pelicans, or, you know, it's just, you know, or seeing the aquariums open their doors to animals, you know, that are stuck in shelters, you know, so that they can, you know, kind of, you know, observe the fish in the, all sorts of inventive ways people are using to do something. So, you know, but so if your heart has been lifted by that, then, you know, how can you make that part of your actions of body, speech, and the mind? You know, if you realize that spending all your time with your family doesn't make it meaningful. You know, so the question isn't how much time. It really is more about how is the quality of that time. So if what's arisen as meaningful to you is being able to spend more time in different ways with your partners or kids or, you know, loved ones, then, you know, how can that inform your choices? If it has put distance between you, you know, and this is not different. Like I was thinking about how I might really never see my stepmother again. You know, she's been in, you know, in quarantine by herself for almost 2 months now, maybe 2 months in New Orleans. You know, she's 90 old. You know, and of course that's always been true. In every moment I'm not seeing her could be, I may never see her again, because that's the nature of impermanence. You know, so every time we're experiencing some connectedness with someone else or with a group, being aware of the impermanence of everything can help us keep our activities of body, speech, and mind on point. You know, so that we don't get caught up in some storyline, remember some past hurt or resentment, and then have that be what's informing that interaction. But instead, let the impermanence, you know, of all phenomena be what informs us. The fact that we really understand in our isolation from each other how connection really makes our life meaningful. So if that is true for you, you know, then you want to take that information and really let it, you know, imbue your motivations, your intentions in the morning, so that you can recall it. You want to sit in meditation on it so it becomes firm, so that you don't forget. when something happens, some external event happens, or some thought arises in the mind that threatens to drag you off into some scenario that's not happening now, but either something that you're imagining about the future or something you're recalling, probably in a distorted fashion from the past, so, you know, that you want to stay grounded in what's happening now. And remember that in that now moment, we can choose what we're going to follow. Whether we're going to follow that random thought, or we're going to come back to our intention for the day, or what is meaningful to us, and try to come from that place in our response. Yes, Anthony.
I've literally had an experience this year so far that has been encompassing kind of those 4 characteristics, you know, related to birth, sickness, aging, and death. You know, we've had the birth of a granddaughter. We're going to expect another one this year. That brings a lot of happiness into our lives. We've personally been sick and often concerned that perhaps we did have the virus, you know, and it's just the anxiety and so forth associated with that. And then, you know, we ourselves are aging, and it's just bringing in clear relief with my mother's probable near death. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer this year, and so that's where we've been the past month, really actively taking care of her and helping her through this time. And so it's really brought into perspective very crisply that this is my existential reality, you know, that I'm positioned between birth and death, and it's always been that way. And yet now, you know, it's made very clear and challenges me to, as you said, stay focused on what's really important and the connections with the people in our lives, the meaningful relationships, and trying to maintain that focus, which I really appreciate, actually. It's a call to really sharpen our focus. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the
Thank you.
message.
This is the thing, isn't it? Is that this, you know, the teachings are trying to remind us all the time that this is available to us. This information, this knowledge of aging, impermanence, and death. You know, that this is the way things are. And it can either paralyze us in fear or energize us to make each moment valuable.
Yes, and I choose the latter. I think that it's something that helps us really energize our activities to do the valuable things and meaningful things in life.
Well, it's certainly good to have you back.
Thank you.
We're glad to see you.
All right, be back.
So this is, you know, this is the whole point of the teachings of meditating on death, you know, meditating on impermanence, meditating on how cherishing others brings more happiness than cherishing ourselves. Thinking about ways to benefit others helps us be mindful of them. It's hard to benefit others if we don't think about what they might need or want or, you know, whatever. When we don't listen attentively when they talk to us, you know. even things like, the planet has been kind of screaming at us for quite a long time, but, we need, are we listening? Now, Paul, did you want to say something?
I just had a question. How do you meditate on death? Like you were just saying, how do you do that?
Well, if you can show up Thursday night, you'll have a whole class on it. But basically, a simple meditation on death is, say, like before you fall asleep at night, is just to think about how, our body, just like falling asleep, someday our body is going to, fail us. And its ability to support our life. It's sort of like when you're really, really tired and you can barely stay awake. It's like your body is just not able to support, wakefulness. So in a similar way, eventually, or not so eventually, the body is not going to be able to support our mind. And it will fail us. And that at that moment, what's going to support us? What's going to help us not be afraid, not be, panicked, not be grasping at staying when we can't stay? It's like I often, when I want to stay awake, but I'm really sleepy, I'll eat because the digestion will keep me awake, and I have to tell myself, oh, this is really not intelligent, So we might be able to fight sleepiness with coffee and exercise. Notice I don't exercise to wake up. Anyway, but there's a point at which there is simply nothing we can do. The body will fail us. And sometimes this will be a slow process, or sometimes it will be very quick, unexpected. You get killed in a car accident. No. But when we're falling asleep, we can think about, oh, someday my body's not going to support me. So we can have a little gratitude for our body supporting us now, in this moment. Be grateful that it's been supporting us for X number of years, but it will fail us. So what will support us? Our body can't help us. Can our loved ones help us? They can't actually stop the death. And if they're very upset, they might actually make it painful to let go of this body. Do your possessions or your wealth or your iPod or whatever, will they help? So what can help us?
Our mind, to have some peace and calmness at the time of death.
Yeah, but where does that come from?
Practice.
Right, it comes from remembering the good you have done, the love you've given, the way you've benefited others, the way you've tried to work on your mind and let go of unskillful habits and develop skillful habits. Sort of that, okay, I've taken advantage of this precious opportunity, and I know I have to let go, but I've used my time pretty well. That kind of thing. So it's what we've done that's meaningful to us, that is not harmful to others, that we don't have all these regrets. Oh, I wish I hadn't been so sharp-tempered, or, all that kind of stuff. But that we've taken opportunities to, connect and in helpful ways with others. In loving ways, kind ways, generous ways, patient ways. So that can help us, you know, that's a good setting for that reflection on your day about, you know, rejoicing over the things that you did, you know, that you kind of, oh, I feel good about that. I'm glad I did that. Let's do more of that. And then those moments of kind of thinking like, yeah, I could have done better there. And trying to set, oh, I need to apologize to so-and-so because I really was kind of sharp with him or her. And, you know, so tomorrow I may, you know, let them know I'm aware of that and that I'm sorry for that, you know. But it's really helpful. This is why the order of these things should always be first you think about the things you didn't do so well. And then remember the things that you did so that when you fall asleep, you're falling asleep with a kind of a peaceful mind that feels okay about today. And that, you know, that helps us wake up with that same kind of mind of feeling energized by our good qualities. And so that's what we want to practice so that at the time of death, that's the mind we have. That's the habit of mind we have, that we're able to relax about the things we didn't do so well, knowing that we really tried hard to change our habits, you know, and then we're not Buddhists yet, so we're not, you know, it's not like we just, you know, had 100% success or even, you know, maybe, you know, 40% success. It's really not important. The main thing is to realize I've made progress in this life. I've grown my heart some. I've become more inclusive. And I've let the people that are in my life know that I care for them, want to benefit them. I participated in the larger community in some way. That it's not just me and mine, but yours also. So this kind of habit of reflecting that, oh, this might be my last day. Reflecting, you know, on the things that might need apologies tomorrow or might need a little more work or whatever, you know, accepting responsibility for that, not packing a suitcase of guilt, just, oh, okay, I want to do better than that. Setting a resolve to do that. And then thinking about, you know, the connections you made, the loving, kind, patient, giving moments as well. They don't have to be big moments. They can be little moments. They can be the smiles you give strangers. You know, the waves you give behind your mask as you walk. You know, I can't rely on my smile anymore. I have to wave. So, but the ways we try to, you know, let people know, I see you. Glad you're here. Glad you're not sick somewhere. Does that make sense, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the ways that these things that we notice when there's a big event going on. And this is pretty big since it's global. But, you know, it doesn't affect our lives in all the same ways. A lot of us are kind of untouched by it in the sense of we're safe, we're able to get food with relative ease. You know, it's, you know, we're not, you know, in these really harsh conditions where our food supply has been cut off. You know, we have no sense of a safety net for our families. So for us, we can really attend to what matters to us, what's been bubbling up, and try to make those things more stable in our activities of body, speech, and mind. So how do we do that? Yeah, Brian.
I was going to say something that has been incredible for me is just practice, meditating, going to these classes, just listen to you when you're teaching us. And then what I find that has been so also incredible is all these other resources on the internet. I mean, every single day, there's always something all throughout the day, not just at night. It's like whenever. And I'm fortunate that this hasn't really, I don't want to say it's changed me, but in the sense of like a lot of people are talking about how it's changed them. For me, I work out of my house all the time, and I've been doing it for the last 3-4 years. And I'm here with Carolina, but I don't go out too much because I'm always working in the house, and I don't really like to go out that much myself. So again, for me it's not.
So you've been able to take advantage of.
I've been taking very strong advantage of it, and I've noticed so much how it's really changing me internally and my mind, and the meditation has just been incredible.
Yeah.
And the whole culmination of the whole thing, of the Dharma, it's I can't even, words can't even express.
Yeah, I know it's golden. Yeah, exactly. And so this is one of those things. It's like some of us are discovering, I really don't need Netflix, that there's a ton of stuff out there that I can access that's better for my mind. Those of us who have more flexibility around our work. I have that flexibility where I can choose when I'm preparing classes, when I'm doing my commitments, things like that, and then I can, schedule in these things that are available right now because of the kindness of these centers who are, offering, who are trying to figure out how they can use Zoom. A lot of people, it's like Vajrapani, which is a center in California, is a retreat center. So it's off in the woods somewhere. So they don't always have the most reliable internet. So, they were not certain they could do this. But there's, there are all sorts of opportunities, so this is one of those ways in which we can recognize, oh, maybe, now that I have more time to lounge around, and that may not be true of most of us, but what we do with that time, free time, when we're not able to run errands and run around and shop and eat it all at restaurants and what benefits me? What will make those things that are meaningful to me be more, present? And that's, developing our stableness of mind. And the teachings can really, and meditations, all of those can really help us do that. So if we've had the good fortune, or you have good internet, or whatever, that you've been exploring to see what might be out there. The FPT centers have all been, not all, but there've been many, many different ways of being able to access different, like Brian said, every day there's something, and there's more than one thing, So maybe if you're not spending money on, lattes and whatever it is those ways that we spend money that just kind of just falls through our fingers, like waterfalls. And you can't even remember what it was, or what was it that you thought was so important about this or that, they can go towards, classes and meditations, to help develop our minds. We spend an awful lot of resources on our bodies, on our clothes, on our cleanliness, on, all sorts of things for the body. But but we might want to discover the joy of spending it on our mind. So that's an opportunity that's here. But we don't want it to just be here during a pandemic. When we don't want to keep following the roller coaster of our mind, we want to choose how we spend our time. So that when we're working, we want to be productive. We want to contribute to whoever we work for. Obviously, we work for ourselves. We know we want to contribute to that. If we work for someone else, it's just a, indirect way of being able to support ourselves and our families. So it's this, really understanding that if what's meaningful to you is your interactions with your friends and family, and perhaps, people that you volunteer with or, help, or people at the center, then maybe you don't get so hooked by work stuff. You do your work, but you don't carry it to the rest of your time because it's not what's making your life so meaningful. So you leave it at work. So you want to, you want to let, when your wisdom arises, you want to make that stable. You want to sit quietly with that and think, okay, how can I make this more of my day, every day, without grasping after it? Because the other thing that events like this help teach us, if we let it, is that flexibility is key. One of the things that stood out for me when I read Stephen Covey's book about the 7 habits of highly successful people, or highly effective people, or whatever it was called, was that, he said, he's very good about planning his calendar and, what he had to do. And then he would always remind himself, you can't schedule people. The needs of people are not going to fall conveniently on your schedule. So we have to be flexible for that. Because if that's what makes our lives meaningful, we certainly don't want to put them off. There'll be times when we have to. But so when we can choose, we want to make sure we choose what's meaningful for us, not what our habit energy is telling us to do. And we have a tendency, to do those things that we're getting paid to do. That's what we prioritize. And sometimes we lose track that of the fact that we've done enough. We've earned our paycheck. We have a life too. I mean, we want work to be just part of our lives. We don't want it to take over. Yes, Arlene.
What was the link that you referred to for more on was it FBT?
No, it's F as in Frank, P as in Paul, M as in mother, T as in Tom.org.
Thank you.
And under that website, they have a link to centers. So you can look up centers, but mostly I think there's some information about, so you look under the US centers because that usually is easier time-wise, because we're not so far away. If something's happening in India, it probably won't fit your schedule of being awake. So you can get on the email list of these different
Thank you.
organizations and then, find out what's happening. So FPMT is our parent organization. We're affiliated with them. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche is our spiritual director.
Venerable Tendron,
Yes, Vicki.
speaking of teachings from India, people might like to know His Holiness is going to be giving teachings on the 16th and 17th. And luckily, it begins in India at 8 in the morning, so it's it would be around 8 in the evening here or something like that. They can check the time change.
And that website is it's just DalaiLama.com, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just DalaiLama.com. And, you know, it's one of those times to remember that His Holiness is impermanent. He used to travel all over the world. He doesn't do that now. No. So we might want to take the opportunity to check in. So, you know, it's like if you have a habit of, you know, checking I don't mean literally, like the TV schedule and going, oh yeah, that's right, that show's on tonight. You know, you have no trouble remembering that. Like, ooh, such and such is on, you know, of course we all, you know, just stream something when we want to, but we want to check, you know, when's His Holiness going to be online, you know? Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche has been giving teachings from Kopan almost every single day. Not literally every single day, but a lot, you know? So in that, and the access to those, the recordings as well as them live is on the FPMT website. So, you know, so we have like Dharma rain pouring down. We have Dharma flooding going on, you know? So, you know, this is a good time to take advantage of that because it's impermanent. You know, some things will continue. His Holiness's teachings are usually online. Lama Zopa Rinpoche's teachings are online, both live and recorded. But some of these opportunities, you know, will fade into the background as places open. I'm going to encourage a lot of them to stay around. The ones I'm attending, please, please do this every so often. So, but the main thing is to prioritize what is meaningful to us. This is the point of waking up in the morning, taking some few minutes to have, you know, kind of go into the quiet of the mind. Let what is really meaningful to you, what motivates you in your life, why you're glad to be alive, you know, be the reason for whatever intentions you set during the day. So you don't get just lost in the habits. It's so important to make this stable. We're all pretty stable in our chores, the things of taking care of the body, the things of goofing off time, relaxation time, you know, playing video games and streaming Netflix or whatever, you know, going to the gym. What we really want to do is, you know, develop some stability on taking care of our mind. So we need to think about this. I mean, we're, you know, this situation, you know, has probably brought a lot of things to mind, to focus, sort of like, oh, okay, you know, being able to visit my grandchildren was really, you know, it was really important to me. So when, you know, when I'm able to do that again, I want to, you know, focus on the joy of that. Or maybe you're really concerned about someone you're unable to see. You know, so you want to be attentive to that when you can. Is this making sense? And it is really just a matter of reflecting on these things again and again and again and again. And then you have to look at, oh, okay, if I keep, you know, if somewhere in me I know that I want, you know, to keep the avenues of communication open with my relatives, you know, but I forget, you know, I forget to call them, you know, da 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 da, you know, whatever. Then you want to think about what is the advantage of forgetting about them. And if you can't think of any advantage of forgetting about them, then you want to think about, you know, what are the reasons why you want to remember? And then you want to commit to that. Allow yourself to prioritize what makes your life meaningful. Or what, you know, the things like, it may be that, you know, you're not thrilled with your conversation with your grandmother every, you know, it's nothing exciting there, but you want to touch her heart. You want her to know that you think of her. So you're just there. I remember Sister Chong Kong, who was Thich Nhat Hanh, sort of right-hand nun. So she was a big activist in the Vietnam War. And she says she calls her, you know, this is 20 years ago. She said she called her mother every week. And she would always, if she, you know, she just talked to her for like 10 minutes, you know, maybe 20 minutes, I don't, you know, but she'd make a little list of, you know, positive things. She'd never talk about her worries or anything, you know, because she was pretty old. So her mother was really old. So she just, you know, but it was just sort of like, you know, so that she would have an interesting, you know, or at least some sort of engaged conversation with her, and not just call her up and go, oh, what's going on? Nothing, okay, nothing, you know, and you just sit there with empty, you know, silence. You know, she made the effort of coming up with some things to ask and to share, you know, and then that would be it. And it was just about communicating affection, of being there, touching, you know, in that moment. So we really want to take what we uncover as important to us and then figure out a way, really reflect on, okay, how can I make this happen in a way that's manageable for me and meaningful to me and that may benefit others? You know, it may be offering to, you know, do laundry for one of your older relatives, offering to go to the grocery with them, or just deliver them groceries. You know, I mean, there are just all sorts of ways that we can connect with each other. But mainly we want to not waste our mental energy on the past and the future. We have to plan, sure, but we don't have to do scenarios again and again in our head. It's like, have you ever noticed how much time on the news is spent speculating about something that hadn't happened yet? As opposed to like, I'm supposed to be reporting the news. News has already happened. You know? So we want our thoughts to be like that we're not just always speculating about the future. We want to be experiencing what's happening. Even when it's not pleasant. Because we can learn from these moments. We can let it inform us about aging, sickness, and death. We can let it inform us about what are our triggers for being, you know, behaving badly. So that we can work on those. We don't want to just always escape from them by into the future or the past. So when things are slower because we just can't run around doing all the things we used to do, we really can take the opportunity to reflect more often. And then we may choose not to run around so much. Be more efficient with our chores. And the good news is, and there is some, there's always is, first of all, there are things that make our lives meaningful. That's nice. There are people we care about, you know, that we miss seeing. Or maybe we have the good fortune of being with the people we care about. And so we can rejoice in that. You know. But also when we look, you know, it's not just that we have unskillful behaviors. We also have skillful ones. And we want to remember how we feel when we're acting in those ways, thinking in those ways, speaking in those ways, so that we'll want to do it more often. So we can, you know, step back when we're getting ready to be hooked and dragged away by our habit energy that is not helpful, to be able to pause, step back, unhook, and start again. Because literally, every moment, we can start again. We can choose not to take that next step in whatever we're doing. We can just go, nah, I'm starting again. And this requires some slowing down. Otherwise, our habit just drags us. Is that making sense? So what does that look like? How do you do that?
I think the key for me is doing exactly what you said, which is to stop, you know, take that pause throughout the day. That means being mindful that you're working on changing your reactivity. So stopping, pausing, and observing what's happening in the moment, and then determining whether your kind of impulsive, sort of reactive inclinations are going to serve you well or not. And if they're not, then to try to choose an alternative response to that situation. And so,
yeah. So, okay, so one of those things can be just making it, it sounds, I mean, you know, we start with things that are very contrived. You know, we have to practice them. We have to make the effort. So doing something like, you know, saying, okay, since right now I'm not working with coworkers and I'm, you know, all this stuff. Sorry, Barry, you just have stuck with your situation. You know, but if you're working from home, then say, okay, I'm going to set my little, you know, timer. I'm going to ask Siri or Alexa or whoever we ask, you know, to please, you know, let us know when 47 minutes has gone by. And then when that little timer goes off, we pause. We take a breath. We check into, you know, we observe what's going on in the body. We observe what's going on in the mind. We refresh our intention for the day or our motivation. And, you know, oftentimes you'll just find, oh, yeah, this is okay. I'm doing okay. And then other times you'll realize, oh, I've been hooked. And so this gives you that opportunity to step back and reset. But it can be really helpful to schedule it in. And I say something like 47 minutes, because then you're not expecting it. That it can really help you with that interrupting whatever's going on. You know, I mean, obviously, if there's something that, like if you're on a conference call, you know, you might not schedule it for that particular time. You leave that one off. But you want to do it so that you know, not on the hour or something, although you can, if you don't want to use a clock or an alarm, you can just do it as, you know, that you noticed it's another hour. You know, you just kind of mentally step back, stop doing anything, stop looking at anything, and just observe what's in your body and what's in your mind. Did you have something else, Anthony?
No, I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
The body is really something that lately I've been noticing with myself. I mean, and using that as a way to understand really what's going on in my mind, or my mind and my body, because I have these reactions physically that I never realized I was so sensitive in my body with what's going on in my mind. Like hot flashes and headaches and, you know, indigestion. And I mean, all these like physical symptoms that I experience because of my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to work on, you know, connecting.
And the good news is the more familiar we are with those signals from the body, eventually, the more, you know, the more we become familiar with this, we'll start catching our mind before it manifests in the body. You know, that takes, you know, a lot of practice, but, and it all starts with just observing, ooh, this has arisen in my body. So what's going on in my mind?
Yeah, maybe it's anxieties, you know.
Well, whatever. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It is just more of going, oh, I know I am disturbed in this moment. And sometimes just being able to go back to your breath, pause a moment, can help relax that tightness we're holding. I mean, this takes practice though. I mean, initially it's sort of like, okay, I've already got the migraine. So, you know, but that's okay. That's where you start. You know, and then you slowly, the more you're in tune to what's going on in the moment, both with your body and your mind, you know, the more you'll notice sooner, and it will not get out of hand. That's what's important, is that we recognize that we just, you know, the reason why we haven't noticed is we're constantly in the past and the future. We're being hooked by our habit energy, and we're not actually present for the experience. So we miss it. We miss the clues. Now it's because there's a difference between missing the clues and choosing to just set that in the background. You know, we all know as we age, you know, we have these little parts of the body that aren't working so well, you know, and we just get used to it. We just set them aside. We don't think about them much because there's no point in thinking about them at all, you know, but other things are reactive. They're not just the state of the body. They are a reaction to some sort of anxiety or tension or fear or craving. Because it's the same. Even those things that we're seeking out of desire, and those that we are trying to avoid out of aversion, it's the same energy in the mind. It's this agitation, and it expresses itself often in the body. You know, so it's about noticing and then allowing ourselves to experience the discomfort and see if anything bubbles up that says, oh yeah, I heard, someone's, it's sort of like, oh, I just heard this, and that's what started this, spiral of tension or anxiety or lust, and I'm not experiencing what's happening now. So we want to pause, experience it, choose what we want to do. Sometimes what our choice will be to, walk away from the situation in whatever subtle, discreet way we can, just to allow ourselves some space around. That's where breath can really help. And just going into the stillness of the mind, developing that skill helps us put space around the emotional reaction, to the button that's been pressed, so that we can, experience it without thinking it's going to last forever, instead of following a story. And in those times when we're really in the grips of something that, we can go, I need to take a break from this for a little while. It could even be something you're working with. It could be just some project, that you haven't figured out the solution, and it's, and you need to step back, give yourself some space because you're getting too tight. And the breath can help us just loosen. With practice, it doesn't happen right away. Initially, it's like focusing on your breath can make you even crazier. It just depends on you. We just have to discover these things. But understand, what's lovely to understand is within the mind, you have privacy. It's not like you have to reveal everything to the world. It's just you go within, you take care of yourself from within. These are ways in which to help us, not be reactive and just following habit energy. Learning to discover that there's space between thoughts in which you can choose the next direction. And it takes practice. And it isn't that we can't, in some ways, our habits are those that we have just become so accustomed to that as soon as there's some stimulus for it, we go there. And we just want to learn to be able to make sure our going there is where we want to go. That we're choosing it. We're not just being drawn by the smell of cinnamon toast in the oven, or, that we're not just drawn by something that's caught some sense awareness and dragged us off to the past or the future. And and it's not really helping us. Because escape, as nice as escaping sounds, it doesn't do anything to change your life. It's just keep escaping from it. When I was a child, I read a book, I think it was a Ray Bradbury book. No, that's Childhood Sin. I don't know which book it was, but it was one which the people, it's one of those things where, you invent the robot takes over the world, and the robot's programmed to make you happy. And so the robot's trying to figure out how to make you happy. So it puts you into a dream state and controls your dreams. And so you're just in sort of like a hammock cocoon, dreaming, And of course, the protagonist and the hero and the heroine, at the end going, I wonder if we're dreaming this, thinking they've escaped this planet, So, sort of like Matrix, only a lot less complicated. You know, and it's only good stuff. You're just dreaming what you like. Okay, so yeah, that might, you know, I don't know if that has appeal to you. It really doesn't have appeal to me. But that is what's escaping, keeps us attracted to. Oh, this moment's not perfect, so let's go somewhere else. You know, how much better it is to be able to be content in each moment. And that doesn't mean, oh, you know, it's blissful in every moment. That's enlightenment. I have to work for that. It just means, you know, being able to choose what's meaningful in our lives and, you know, creating activities around that. Knowing that we, you know, one of the things that's meaningful is to be able to eat and have shelter and, you know, those things. So we need to make a living. That's okay. And our jobs may not be all that meaningful to us, but they serve some function in society. They're part of the community. They also feed you. Somebody's a jack.
Satisfaction is the most excellent of riches.
Yes, and it means having few desires. It doesn't mean getting what you want. It means just being content with what you have. And that's a practice because we're not, you know, habituated to that. We're habituated to going somewhere else. And we live in a world that feeds that. Bored, change the channel. You know, hungry, pick from 3 billion places that will deliver to you. You know, I mean, we are just really, you know, seduced by constant ability to do something else. Make this moment more tasty, make this moment more entertaining, make this moment, you know, we forget that we're spending all our time driving around, whether it's mentally, you know, we're not, you know, it's just this understanding that being can be more satisfying than chasing. Chasing after our sense desires. You know, running away from our aversions. So being able to just stay. This is good enough. And learn from whatever it is. See how the moment informs you. You know. I mean, I don't know if you know, it's like when you're sitting doing something, say you're reading a book and you realize, I don't like this book. And giving yourself permission to quit reading it. Now, if you're studying something in school, you can't do that. But, you know, so then what do? You try to dig deeper into it. Try to remember, okay, what will be useful about having done this? You know, for my career or for my knowledge basis or, you know, whatever. You know, because we don't want to feed the habit of running away from what we don't like. We're really already good at that. So having those days where whatever is happening and just, you know, saying yes to that. You know, that includes even, you know, the sensations of the body that aren't so great. You know, you just, oh, okay, so that's today. And then we'll notice when it's not there because everything's impermanent. The sensations are impermanent. Our thoughts about them are impermanent. Our cravings are really impermanent. I almost can't keep up with our cravings. They change so much. And coming back to what's meaningful to us and not just getting caught up in these storylines. I remember I had a friend who was, when her kids were small, she'd every now and then have a, I'm not going to say no today day. And if you're a parent, you can imagine how challenging that can be. Because it's a million ways of trying to figure out how to say yes without endangering your child. You know, of learning how to look at things from different perspectives so that you can say yes to this moment. You know, finding the benefit, even if that benefit is learning how to tolerate this discomfort. Learning how to stay with what's happening, accepting what's happening. Even accepting what arises in the mind. One of the things we do is we, especially at the beginning of trying to observe what's going on, is we can start to get really critical of the mind. You know, we go, oh, that's a stupid thought. That's not helpful, blah, blah, blah. You know, we can be really nasty to our mind. And instead, being able to just see what arises. And you can, you know, and not feed it, whether it's, you know, whether we, you know, just being aware, like accepting whatever, not judging ourselves because that's what's arisen. It's just our habits. But we do want to be able to notice our habits, notice our patterns, and then look at them and kind of go, oh, is that useful? Is that helping me? So that we will put in the effort to interrupt those habits. Okay, so let's take a moment to go into that still spot of the mind by allowing ourselves to kind of go within, you know, kind of allowing our posture to be awake, open, but our gaze to be downwards so that our attention is focused on our inner processes, not what's happening external. And find that sensation of the breath to rest upon. And perhaps take a moment to observe the body, what's going on, what sensations you notice. If you're holding any parts of the body tight, including like facial expressions, the jaw, the shoulders, and taking a few breaths, deep breaths, and letting those spots release some of that tension. And just observe the mind. Are you doing a lot of thinking? And then allow one of the things we've talked about today that resonated with you, or one of the things during this experience of working from home, that has revealed what's meaningful to you. Bring that to mind. Just one act, one part, one thing, one thought. And usually when something resonates with us, it's because our inner wisdom feels that it is correct. So we want to kind of investigate what about it makes sense to us. And if it makes sense to us, how can we make it more present in our lives? What can I do to remember this? And perhaps make a commitment to writing this down, incorporating it in some way to remember. Then thinking about all the different ways that we can be focused on how we can benefit ourselves and others, no matter what's going on, rather than focusing on what's going on, all the negative aspects, whether it's this pandemic or the loss of jobs, inability to have sufficient food. How can I participate in benefiting others? How can I make this experience meaningful to me? So at the time of my death, this becomes one of those reflections that brings us peace of mind, not regret. So take a moment to imagine all the people that are suffering right now, all the beings that are suffering right now. Just imagine them at your heart. And now we'll recite some dedications from Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Requested that we say. Due to all the past, present, and future merits collected by me, all the three-time merits collected by numberless sentient beings and numberless Buddhas, may those who are sick, may they never ever be reborn in the lower realms, and may they immediately recover from their sickness, be able to generate bodhicitta in this very lifetime, and have all their wishes to succeed in accordance with the Dharma. Then those who've died, generally those who have died, and there are the people who got the virus and died, for all those never ever to be reborn in the lower realms, and those in the lower realms now immediately to get liberated from that and be reborn in a pure land where they can get enlightenment, achieve enlightenment as quickly as possible. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments, whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So everybody open up your mics and say hello, goodbye. We'll be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you, Venerable Tendron.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
To each other for showing up.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you, Venerable Tendron.
Thank you,
Cole, do you
everybody.
have any announcements?
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
think
sure. If
next time
anybody,
next-
just a reminder about, yeah, death and rebirth. Death and rebirth. If anybody's interested in joining that course on Thursday, please do so. And if you want the meditations and emails, register and we'll get those to you. Okay. Thank you.
Yep,
Have a
and
great
Tuesday
day.
night, we continue with Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And next week, same time, same place. So, have a meaningful week. Take good care.
Thank you,
Thank
Venerable
you.
Tendron. Thank you very much.
Bye, Lamo.
Bye.